Yo, what's good, people? Today we have a very special review because today I have a Sanjuks V6, and as you can see here, the attention to detail is insane. From the anodized aluminium body to look at how the directions are actually printed on the body. So the attention to detail, I can't stress enough, is insane. It's probably the best kind of attention to detail lever I've ever owned and ever used. So, you know, from the anodized aluminium body to the switches to the kind of the mounting printing as well, just everything feels so premium with this lever, and I genuinely can't wait to review this lever. I'm very excited. I also do have a Sanjuks V7, so a review will come later down the line, but today is the Sanjuks V6. Let me show you again. Look at how I almost did not want to use this lever because it looks so pretty. Like, look at how just the color scheme, the blue matching the blue battop, and then you've got just, wow, so nice. Shout out to Ist for the super fast shipping as always. So yes, this is the Sanjuks V6. Do me a favor, like and subscribe. Liking will help with the algorithm, commenting will also help with the algorithm, and subscribing will let me know that you enjoy the content. Let's get into it. Okay, here we have the usual Ist page, so you can check out the Sanjuks V6 on ist.com. Now, a hack, actually, I will say, is if this lever is out of stock, because they go, as you can see, the Sanjuks V7 is already out of stock, so these do always go out of stock, so you do actually need to be very quick upon restock. Now, if you are late, a hack is to type in Sanjuks. A page of DIY stuff will come up, so you can purchase the parts separately and build a Sanjuks V6. Now, I think mainly what makes a Sanjuks is the body itself. So it has everything here. So it has the body, it has the collars and stuff like that. It has the shafts, the actuator set. So you can actually just build a Sanjuks lever using this page. So that's also a hack. If the V6 or the V7, mainly the V6, because they don't have as many V7 options. As you see, that they don't have any V7 options. So this mainly applies to V6. If the V6 is out of stock, click on this DIY parts and try and see if you can actually build a V6 with the stuff they have available, because they usually do always have this stuff available. It's the complete built levers that are always out of stock. So that's also a hack to keep in mind. When we're talking about the Sanjuks V6, off the bat, I will say that this lever is more difficult to use, pick up and play stock than the Lever Neo. Now, they're both built upon the crown style, so they both have a crown grommet, they both have the crown housing style. So I also said that the Lever Neo is a 309 on steroids. Now, personally for me, I think the Sanjuks kind of one-ups the Lever Neo in terms of how good it is, how premium it is. Not to say that the Lever Neo isn't premium, because it definitely is. I just think the Lever Neo is easier to pick up and play. The diagonals are bigger. It's just easier to transition from other levers, especially Japanese levers. So you are going to have an easier time with the Lever Neo than the Sanjuks V6. Personally, I feel like the Sanjuks V6 is tailored more to Mishima players and the Mishima playstyle. That's just what I found from my testing. Other people may have a different experience. Everyone's different, and this is what people need to understand. My favorite lever is not going to be your favorite lever, if that makes sense. So you do actually need to go out and try different stuff. And that's the beauty of, you know, arcade sticks and levers and arcade parts, is that you can really mix and match and find your perfect setup. So if it's in terms of actuator size, if you don't like how easy it is to actuate a switch, you can change the actuator size. If you don't like how big a throw is, you can change the shaft size, and so on and so forth. If you don't like the battop, you can screw it off, screw another one on. So there's a lot of options to kind of find your perfect setup, and that's what I like about Korean style levers and, you know, just arcade parts in general. You really can mix and match to find your perfect setup. Okay, looking at the tech specs, so you can see the tension here says slightly soft, and it does have, let's see if it's gonna, yes, so it shows us what tension it has inside it, and this is a 30 ST tension, so it's in between 25 and 35 that crown typically offered. Now, the bobbin and the body combination, it compresses the tension ever so slightly, so this rubber inside it will feel slightly more stiff. Not as stiff as the blue one, but definitely more stiff. So in between the violet, if they made a tension that was in between the violet and in between the blue, that's how it would feel. Now, I don't really feel this on the V7. I don't feel like it's compressing the tension as much, but the V6 definitely does compress the tension. So I would advise, if you are going to go for this already comes in it, so you don't need to buy another violet one. Just buy the whole set and kind of mix and match and experiment with what tension you like the best. Because as I said, the body and the bobbin combination, it does compress and make the tension a little bit more stiff. Okay, diving into the tech specs a little bit more. So we just have a regular batot. Now the shaft size is 9mm, and I actually have a Neelever version 1 stock shaft. So I'm going to compare the kind of thickness, but this is 9mm, I believe. There's not much information on it online, but I do believe this is 9mm. Now the actuator is interesting because the stock actuator size is 14.8mm. Now if you go back onto the page where it has a DIY stuff, you can see scrolling down that they have an actuator set. So the stock actuator sits in between the 14.6 and the 15, so it will sit just here. Now you can either go smaller, which is not recommended because the corners are already quite tight in my experience. So I would say go for the 15. That's probably where you're going to have the best experience, but I would say just get the set of 4 and experiment. I think maybe 15.2 might be a little bit too big. 15 is probably the sweet spot for the Sanjuks V6. Now I don't have a 15, I have a 14.8, and I do struggle finding those corners at times. The Neelever Neo has bigger corners, so that's why I said it will be an easier lever to pick up and play. Okay, when it comes to the body, I've mentioned it before, but this is again anodized aluminium, so you can get different colors. They sometimes stock different colors on the Korean version of the website. So right now we're on the American, as you can see, American, and it says US.Ismail, but you can actually navigate to the Korean website and sometimes they do have different colors. Looking at the collar, they give you a half collar, so this will fit into, you know, Japanese style sticks and pretty much all sticks because it's a half collar. Now you can actually go over and get a, well, there's different ones actually. So there's a squircle. This one is stock that you get. So this is the mid color circle guide. There's a full color circle guide. So you have a selection of guides. Now personally, I would go with the squircle just because it's easier to use and it still feels very fluid. It's just, I think the diagonals are slightly easier to find with, especially if you ride the gate as well. If you ride the kind of the collar or the guide, this one will be easier for you to find corners and play with it a bit more naturally. Whereas if you go with this one is perfectly smooth, super smooth actually, but it is going to take you a little bit of time if you're not used to that Korean style. But then switching back to the stock one, you are going to find difficulty at first. It does take practice, obviously, if you are not familiar with the, you know, Korean style of levers. If you are coming from a Japanese lever or you're coming from pad, going to circle guides are going to feel a little bit alien. They do feel super, super smooth, but I would advise, you know, buy a spare collar for a 4-way and try it out. If you don't like it, if you like the circle collar, I mean, you could just switch back to the circle collar. And again, this is the beauty of arcade sticks and levers, is that there's so many different parts that you can mix and match with. So you saw the shaft sizes, you saw the actuator sizes, now you have the collars and the body, the housing, so you can really change it to suit you. And that's what I like about, you know, levers in general. So yeah, we've kind of pretty much covered all of the tech specs. I want to do a quick sound test to kind of showcase how it sounds in an actual arcade stick, because I can do this, but that's not really representative of how it's going to sound, you know, in a case. So I'm going to do a sound test and you can really hear what it sounds like in a case. And obviously different cases, so if you put it in one case, it's not going to sound exactly the same as another case, but ultimately you do need to have it in a case to gauge how it's going to sound during gameplay. Okay, so now we have the stick in action, the lever in action. As you can see, I'm using the Sanjuks V6. Right off the bat, I think, as I said, this lever is tailored to machiners in my opinion. Wave dashing feels super clean. Like even on P1, I was saying before how this lever kind of compresses the tension, and it does a little bit, but not drastically. So I think if I was to rate this tension inside here, it would be maybe 31.5 ST, which is crazy to even say, but I think it's slightly more stiff than 30A, but, and look, it's not spinning. It's barely spinning. I have to forcefully spin it myself. So again, this is super solid and everything just feels nice and rigid, and whatever direction you input, you know you are going to get. I really like the consistency for me. It's crazy. And as I was saying, this lever is a Mishima's dream. Honestly, if you play Mishimas, you need this lever. Stock as well. It just plays so well, stock for Mishimas, honestly. Like, look at the wave dash. Crazy. As you can see there, no issues doing perfect electrics. So yeah, this lever is really, I would say, definitely tailored to Mishimas. I'm not a stick player and I'm not a Mishima player. I just did 2 perfect electrics in a row. So, you know, it's kind of a testament to what I'm saying. So clean. The inputs are really, really good as well. And that's one thing I do actually like about crown style levers, is that my inputs are so clean and consistent. And this is one thing that I really, really liked with the knee lever Neo. Same thing. QCBs, QCFs, you know, backdash, wave dash. Super consistent. The only thing I will say is that the diagonals can be a little bit tricky to find at first. Especially, you know, if you're coming off something like a Japanese lever or something more lenient. But again, you can kind of get around that because there are different actuator size options. But as I said before, I think the 15mm would be perfect in terms of finding diagonals a little bit easier. So that's my kind of verdict on the Sanjuks V6. I do think it is a Mishima style lever. And if you're a Mishima player, you need to use this. Trust me, you need to use it. No spin, solid. It's just a great lever to use, honestly. And with Mishimas, you just saw perfect electrics, no problem. Wave dashing on both sides, no problem. Again, I'm not a stick player and I'm not a Mishima player, and I have no issues doing these inputs. Like, see what I mean? See what I mean? Lever is really, really good. So that was my review of the Sanjuks V6. Let me know what you think about the Sanjuks V6 in the comments. Let me know if you are kind of thinking to pick it up. Let me know what your thoughts are on the lever overall in the comments, because I really, really do like it, but I just think it's not easy to pick up and play. And also I do think that it is really, really good for Mishimas out the box. Obviously, yes, there are customization options. You can change the shaft size, you can change obviously the tension inside it, you can change the switches, you can change the actuator, you can change everything, you can even change the bat top. So everything about the lever is customizable, and I think the lever itself, the body and the housing, is a really, really solid foundation to build a really sick lever. So with that in mind, I'm going to close off the video. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.